Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, Danvers. This is Mark Zuberek with the topics of the town, and I am here reporting today on the Beverly Airport Commissioners meeting reported that it was held on March 11th, 2024. I was the reporter as well as the Danvers resident, and I have attended these meetings for the last 3 to 4 years. And I want to bring this information back to you because it's an important factor in our quality of life in the town of Danvers. As you know, Danvers has 170 acres of Danvers property that has been acquired and in support of the airport layout itself, which is roughly 450 acres of property. And what we need to do is we need to have peaceful coexistence. So, as far as I'm concerned, being the reporter on site, I took some video that was developed just recently, and what I found is that the meetings are very long and they're very complicated in some of the facets. This particular meeting was well over 3 hours. So to condense that information so we can take a look at it in a synopsis of the meeting, I have prepared 7 clips that I will be showing. However, in the beginning, what I like to do is Danvers residents' message to the Beverly Airport Commission. And this was a message that I prepared for the March 11th meeting. However, I'd like to, first of all, compliment the airport commissioners themselves and the new airport manager, is that we have received a very deliberate and complete agenda for the meeting, so we as residents and the people supporting the airport are able to determine what is going to be discussed at the meeting. And I have finally received a decent agenda that gives us a good idea of what's going to be talked about. And Mr. Kendrick has been involved in the innovation and subcommittee, but the thanks belong to Gabriel Hannafin, who is the new airport manager that is approaching now 1 year's time that he spent at the airport. So let's move on. And what I wanted to do is I go there and I remind the airport commissioners as an observer, being the resident in Danvers. Observations and requests that the BVY commissioners address at least last month's public comments. It appears that the public comments are recorded and filed in the round file. Please address issues that are presented and in a timely manner. This is a constant plea from all of our boards because they do give an opportunity for residents to participate by presenting their issues at the beginning of the meeting. But every single group or committee just listens, drops them in the bucket, and moves on. So I'm asking for I'm pleading for a resolution to some of the comments. Public comments regarding the status of the progress of the approval of the master plan. that was handled on this agenda with one sentence. Yes, it's been approved and we're progressing along with it. Well, we have a new airport commission, and is this what the direction of the airport is going to take place? We need to revisit that master plan. The public comments continued. What is the direction of the board that the board will take? This is currently a secret. So, what we need to do is we need to have the commissioners stand up and say, hey, I'm for this master plan, or I'm against this master plan, or I'm ready to modify some of the requests of the master plan, because the master plan has generated a lot of activity in our communities because of the lengthening of the runways and conversion of the taxiways, and now we have building of hangars that are happening to us. Hangar, the lease for the hangar land on one of the hangars has been approved. Now they're approaching the second one. Well, there's a clip in our presentation today, and we will talk about that when the time comes. The BVY, Beverly Airport Commission Board, has an obligation to protect the residents from environmental impacts that are already evident. Environmental report for the airport has not been even considered. More suitable leased land is available and can prevent local issues on the west side of the airport. And I have talked to commissioners, I've talked to the FBO owners who are basically understanding what the issues are, but they're afraid to move and expand the airport on the Beverly side. So let's see if we can accommodate everyone. Noise complaints do not report the verbal impact of jet traffic. Flights occur Friday afternoon, evening flights return Sunday evening and Monday morning. Too numerous to bother calling the airport manager. Maybe what we need to do is make the phone calls and load up the complaint forms, because I understand last month we had over 70 phone calls that went into the airport manager's office. Jet hangars will bring noise levels to the neighbors on the west side of the airport. Need the hangars positioned on Beverly side. Helicopters are already having a serious impact on our area. So, on February 28, 2024, Danvers Board of Assessors approved the Beverly Airport request to waive the pilot payment. What other programs are being considered? I have gone through the agenda for the Board of Assessors, and on February 28th, they have this will be an executive session of the Board of Assessors for the purpose of discussing abatement applications and any ATB cases that need reviews. Review and approval minutes for December 5th, 2023, and the board will review and approve Beverly Airport request to waive pilot payment in exchange for the representation on the Beverly Airport Commission. Our representation on the Airport Commission is very deficient, and we are wasting our pilot program that they have called it now, because they believe that this is not tax revenue that's really owed to the city or the town of Danvers. So, review and approve Beverly Airport Commission request to waive pilot payment in exchange for representatives. That happened on the 28th. There was no public input. There was no request for, public comment. It was just done because it's been done for over 30 years now. When are we going to get our fair share of the tax revenue that is going to Beverly? Community outreach activities are being well accepted, and we'll get to that. And fiscal year budget needs to be transparent, and how. So, let's move on, and what I'll do is give you a very short but concise report on the Beverly Airport Commissioners meeting. So if we go to the agenda, we had public comments, and I've already gone through that. But there was a operations comments by Paul. I can't remember his name. We all go by first names but he's the leader of the aviator school, pilot school. So, if we can run that clip, number one, I would appreciate it, and then we'll talk about it.
Paul Bullier, Corona Aviator Flight School here at Beverly Airport. I only want to take just my couple minutes to reiterate a couple things that have come up, only because I think it's healthy for the commission to hear them from multiple voices and ultimately to hear them multiple times. Commissioner Doxey made an excellent comment as an aviator, professional aviator himself. The two concepts, the one that I'm addressing first is the lengthening of the runways. To understand that the lengthening of the runways does not necessarily make room for bigger and badder jets. He made the wonderful, appropriate comment that the lengthening of the runway actually puts more tools in the pilot's toolbox to be able to use less aggressive techniques for arrival and departure, which ultimately create less noise. So lengthening a runway by, is the current project 200, 500 feet? 600 feet? Awesome. Which radically enables the pilot to use much less noisy techniques for the arrival and for the departure as well. And the second one, I happen to be aware of the currently proposed construction project for new hangar space. And this is such a unique project in that it is to service aircraft that are currently tangibly Beverly clients. And the idea of building a hangar to house the aircraft here does indeed cut the noise by 50%. Well, it will be 50% fewer operations if the airplane lives. It's not like the hangar is inviting new tenants. The hangar is accommodating aircraft that will be taking care of Beverly clients. And so when I was listening to it last week, that's what really clicked and registered in my mind. My analysis as an aviation tenant here tells me that that's a spot-on analysis. So just to be able to hear it from yet another voice, I think is potentially useful. That's all.
Thank you very much.
May
Yes.
I make a response comment?
Is that appropriate? I'm happy to.
That's
Sure,
okay.
yes.
It's really quick. I appreciate what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. About a number of years ago, there was a movie made about a baseball field on a cornfield.
If you build it, they will come, yeah.
Yeah, and you build it, they will come.
But it's already here, is my point. My point is that, yes, the aircraft absolutely, tangibly is already a client of Beverly
No
Airport.
argument on that.
And so in that sense, it's a very unique, yes, the hangar will last longer than that client perhaps, is that. But as commissioners, your job is to look for ways to enhance and improve the business of Beverly Airport. I mean, we're your primary clients, I believe.
Part of that
About
job is
10.
also appeasing the people who comprise our community.
Yep. Except this isn't here. I'll stop there, because that's going off topic for me. Thank you very much.
Now, Paul is a very unique individual. He operates the aviator school, pilot school, or training school. But he also gets involved with the public comments that are happening, and he hears this all the time. He's been at every meeting. Now, the two comments that he basically made, and going in reverse order, is the hangars are absolutely for the purpose of expanding the jet traffic at the airport. And the hangars are built for larger planes. And the planes are currently at the airport already. Now, the one thing that they don't mention is the FBO, which is the operator of the facilities on the west side, is going to generate future rental income for the space that these jets will take. However, nobody wants to admit to the fact that these jets do generate noise, and it's a unique noise, and they do rev up at the entrance or exit of the hangars. Currently, the west side of the airport has already impacted the neighborhoods. The neighborhoods are impacted by noise, by the presence of these large structures that are protruding through the tree cover. And in the wintertime, it's wide open. In the summertime, it may be different. But these people on the west side of the airport along Old Burley Street deserve to be considered in this construction. The facilities that Paul was talking about the noise level, yes, the noise level has fluctuated even recently because of the complaints that have been filed. But one of the contributors of the noise level in our communities is as a result of the pilot training schools or flight schools, as they call themselves. So Paul and Peter Eichley, will talk to him later. We need to have a peaceful coexistence. If there are spaces on the other side of the runway into the Beverly side or even Wenham side, let's build over there. Let's share the wealth instead of committing our community of Danvers to a noise level that's way beyond. One of the things that they do not consider, and Paul is one of them, is that these jets do not necessarily make the noise primarily at the airfield. They make it on the entry and re-entry into the flight paths that they observe. And one of the flight paths is directly over the high school and directly over my house. So let's consider the facts and let's be cooperative neighbors. Next clip is going to be in regards to the hangars, and that one is by a gentleman that's working for Flight Level Aviation, Bob Lawrence, and he's been a hired I call him a hired gun. He is an expert on noise, but what he presented at this meeting was more of a hypothetical situation that has been published by the FAA in regard to the noise levels. So, Peter Eichley, who is the owner of the FBO Flight Level Aviation, is a very informed individual. He's a businessman. So what he wants to do is expand his business on the west side, and he has considered some of the factors that have been identified. However, he is not authorized to use any other area because the airport is saving it for some reason. So let's have clip number 2, which is the flight level aviation presented by Bob Lawrence. And it's a long clip. However, I've knocked it down to probably 2.5, 3 minutes, and we'll just hear where Bob Lawrence is going. So, Ben, if you can throw in clip number 2, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
So good evening. I'm Bob Lawrence. I had the opportunity to speak at the last meeting, and thank you for allowing me to take a few minutes this evening to also present what we believe is an important topic, and that's tonight we're going to discuss noise. Last week, or I should say last month, we discussed the visual aspects of the hangar and the impact of not seeing it because of the trees and the surroundings and different elevation heights of the abutting residents. But tonight we wanted to talk about noise, so we're going to just cover a few basics. We're going to talk about an overall aspects of noise. We're going to talk about the materials that are presented by the FAA as a source of data. We're going to take into consideration the runways and the surroundings. And then lastly, just to summarize that. And if I can get this right, it's the left one? Perfect. So what you see is some information that's published by the FAA. That table comes out of a study that was done at Logan Airport for Runway 4 when they were doing some work down there. So I just plagiarized that, and there's a table that you see in the colors, and that talks about different sound levels at dB, decibels. A is for ambient, that you hear with the human ear. And then, as I think I mentioned last time, it's a non-linear relationship. It's a logarithmic scale. So 70 decibels has 10 times more energy than 60. So it's a non-linear relationship, like I said. And there's a couple data points on there. A rock band is 110, power mower is 96, motorcycle 90, etc. Food blender, garbage disposal at 80, a vacuum cleaner at 69, and conversation in a living room 50 dB. Thank you, Craig. All right.
Well, Bob Lawrence is a very well-meaning individual because what he's presenting is the facts that have been generated by the FAA, and noise levels don't mean much to the FAA because we were talking about Logan Airport. I worked at Logan Airport. I have experienced Runway 4 noise level. I have been watching Logan Airport expand over the last 50 years. When I worked at the airport, I worked on the international terminal, and those sound levels carry all the way in through Winthrop, Nahant, and into Lynn. The problem is that they have been court-ordered to secure some of those buildings, homes and residential apartments with sound deadening functions of windows, roofs had to be repaired. This is not what Beverly Airport is experiencing. However, Beverly Airport is on the path of expansion to the level where jets will be coming in daily on a regular schedule and transporting people to the south of Florida and other destinations during the winter especially. Now, Bob Lawrence is very well-meaning individual. However, he is presenting the faction or the facts from the business owners and expansion expectations that will happen at Beverly Airport. Yes, the noise level at the specific point that they may be considering for the hangar may be much lower than expectations. However, there are instances when jet planes have to get revved up and maintained, and run-up has to happen before they are transported onto the runway. And the runway on that end is the opposite side from takeoff. So let's take a look at the next clip. And this one will continue because I have been talking to Peter Eichley, the owner of the FBO, which is the Operations Flight and Flight Level Aviation Support Facilities. As a matter of fact, I was there last week, and it was a pleasant visit. The noise level at that time was very low because nobody was flying. I ran into two pilots that were in their preparation phase of getting the smaller jet off to a location other than Beverly. And there was a young lady that was a pilot waiting to take the other jet to a location, and they do not necessarily service just the individuals that want to fly to Beverly. They fly to other locations in the country. So this is not a one-stop location. This is a stop on transition from one location to a second location to a third location, and they pilot these planes 24 or well at least 24 hours a day. So let's move on to the next phase of the meeting, which is the airport manager report. And that's a short one, but I think I may ask to clip it, but let's take a look at it.
Thank you, Craig. All right, we will move on to the airport manager's report.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, we'll start with the usual financial and operations report. So operations in February were up quite a bit, 1,200 operation increase compared to last February. And then that also resulted, that paired with our increase in fees, and a sizable increase in fuel flowage fees, a 16% increase from last February. And then landing fees, there was a 35% increase from last February. So all that looked really good. Good revenue for the budget. And then, yeah, it was a very busy February for us. Any questions about fees, operations? Moving on to kind of summary update of where our budget currently stands. We're still looking really good. We are 70% through FY '24, and we have received 74% of our budgeted revenues, and we have only expended 61% of our budgeted expenses. So as far as the budget goes, we're looking really good. I was expecting our expenses would take a big hit over winter, but Mother Nature has been kind to us on the snow front this winter, knock on wood.
Yes, there's still time.
But no, as far as everything goes budgetary wise, I feel really good about where we are. Any questions on that? All right. Want to move on to noise complaints over the past month. So between the last airport commission meeting, February 12th, and this current one tonight, March 11th, I received a total of 70 complaints from 5 unique addresses. So the location of those complaints, 3 of them came from Danvers, 1 from Wynnum, and 1 of the unique addresses, 1 from Newburyport. So that Newburyport one was a maneuver. All the others were touch and goes. The one in Newburyport was a student that had taken off here, did some 8s on pylons, layman's term figure 8s, and it requires to be really low to the ground, and this student was doing the maneuver and chose a location that was fairly close to a neighborhood. So I got an email from a gentleman up in Newburyport complaining about that maneuver over his house. So that was addressed, and with the operator and the student, and so I hope that we don't hear about that again from Newburyport.
How did they know it wasn't Lawrence or one of the other airports? Do they know the tail number?
I believe, so in his email, he sent a screenshot of FlightAware. So as it was happening, he got on the app and looked at the aircraft and saw the path from Beverly. So then sent us an email.
A question and a comment. Question is, I'd like you to expand upon unique complaints. And the other thing is talking about the fellow who was performing figure 8s at low altitude. That to me speaks of commercial training, which is figure 8 at low altitude is very typical. And that's what I used to do years ago. So yeah, you're looking down at people's neighborhoods, but you can't do a figure 8 at a higher altitude, otherwise you just pitch down.
Correct, right, yeah, correct. That I should, thank you for clarifying, I should add that that is a common standard commercial maneuver that students do when they're going to get their commercial license. I've performed them, I'm sure it sounds like you've performed them, but yeah, I contacted the operator, and I know that they addressed the student and said, hey, like, nice job on the maneuver, maybe pick a spot that's not right over houses next time. So yeah, and then you had a question about unique. So on that I have total complaints and then the unique addresses. So if you're living at 123 Main Street, that's 1 unique address, and then you send me 5 complaints. That's the total complaint. So for this period, it was the 70 total complaints and then 5 separate people, and all their complaints totaled 70.
Did one person hammer you?
One person sent me 66 complaints in the matter of 25 minutes. Year to date, we've had 81 total complaints coming from 7 different individuals, or 7 addresses. Other than that maneuver, all of the other complaints were from aircraft doing touch and goes, and there was each runway end got a complaint. All of them were left traffic off of runway 9, 3, 4, and 27. The only exception was a complaint about right traffic off of 16. All of the aircraft were Piper Warriors. There were 4 separate aircraft. that comprised all 70 complaints, and all of those aircraft are based out of Beverly. So none of the complaints were any transient aircraft coming from other airports.
I just want to address the two issues that were discussed. Primarily is the noise complaints. And the noise complaints have been successful in identifying certain bad pilots or pilots that do not care about community relations or peaceful coexistence between the airport and their fascination with flying. And you know, if you want to fly, and if you fly the particular planes that are available to you at the airport, welcome. But do not infringe on thickly populated areas that you and your schools have basically identified as an issue to contend with. So, the next item, the budget item, is another issue that has been causing some consternations in regards to how the airport supports itself. Well, one of the factors is the rents and on the leased properties that are on the airport grounds. However, the airport grounds are not very well leased out or useful as industrial commercial sites. On the Danvers side, the properties are zoned industrial, commercial, industrial basically. And there are 170 acres. I think there's like 7 or 8 parcels that are large. And the assessor's office has them assess that on the books at $42 million, which, if it was useful property that was accepted by the industrial commercial developers, and it was taken away from the airport control, it would generate at least $1 million worth of real estate tax revenue. So it's a big target. However, nobody, and with the weapons placed at our efforts by the FAA, is willing to stand up and say, hey, Danvers deserves to have some of this revenue that's coming to the airport. And one of the weapons is a pilot program now that they have identified it. The town manager has identified this as a pilot program. Well, let's go and get a real price of what the land value is. So, the next item is again related to the budget and the master plan. So, if we can run that one, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
So we are officially in fiscal year 25 budget season. So the budget turns over to fiscal year 25 on July 1st, but I just got access to the budget to start putting my inputs last week. So I'm starting to put together our budget for next year. I'll, of course, have a presentation at probably one of the either next meeting or May meeting, kind of present to you what the proposed airport budget is. But if you guys have any questions about that further, please let me know. don't see so far any major changes to the budget, but I will definitely keep you all updated. I did want to touch, I know there's been several comments about the airport master plan. I want to say that master plan is approved, that's our guideline, that's what we refer to, that's what Craig and I work off of when planning projects and our CIP. Of course, a lot of the master plan is forecasted, so there's some things that might change here and there. It's not always going to be perfectly linear, but it is definitely approved and kind of the guideline and guidebook that we use day to day at the airport. And going through this, I realized that finding our master plan on our website was very difficult. So I've kind of switched our website around. If you go to our main page, there should be a tab that says airport documents, and the master plan is right there on the bottom of that page. You can see all the pages of it, as well as the link to the specific website that was created by Javiation when they were doing our master plan. That has all the detailed information as well on there.
Was a very concise information source of how the budget and what the budget actually is. We viewed it. However, the budget appears to be dictated by the city of Beverly, the finance director and airport manager. I don't know how much of an effort or how much of a responsibility is placed on the airport manager. I think the budget is basically given to him by the city of Beverly. And that's a sore point as well, because Beverly looks out for Beverly. The airport needs to be independent. So let's move on to the next one, which is a positive, very interesting development since we have been badgering the airport commission, and they have finally resolved to expand their horizons. So, Ben, if you can run that, please.
I wanted to, I know last meeting, Commissioner Zuberek and I had mentioned our visit to Beverly Middle School, along with Mary, to the 6th grade class. Last week, Commissioner Roulet got me connected with some wonderful people in Wynnum at the Academy at Penguin Hall. It's a private all-girls school. They had a career day on Friday, and so I had the privilege of going and giving a presentation about careers in aviation, specifically airport management. I know that Commissioner Zuberek has been in touch with Danvers. I've also been contacted by Danvers High School about internship possibilities as well at the airport. They do that with their senior class. So all that's to say, I really like this momentum and this that we're on with, really getting the airport out there as being good in the community, good for our surrounding community, and also promoting the youth to the awesome world of aviation and everything it has in store. So, if you have any engagements that you think would be a good fit for the airport, I would be very interested to continue that outreach to the youth and just the community as a whole. And then my last one, some exciting news. At the end of this month, we're still, I think, really trying to nail down a date, but we will become the temporary home for the Dick's Sporting Goods blimp. They're going to be in the area to cover mostly the Boston Marathon, and then there's other events in Boston that they want to be present for, but they've asked if they can use Beverly as kind of their home base for the few months that they're going to be out here. So I coordinated with Travis, with flight level, Mary as well, and the tower to make sure we're all coordinated for when the blimp comes, but that should be exciting. Come out and see the blimp when it's here.
We had the hood blimp for a while.
Right.
Right?
The operator of this one, he, several years ago, flew in and out of Beverly a lot. I don't know if he was with the hood or some other blimp, but, so he called me up and asked if we'd still accept him, and I was like, we'll find a way to, and, you know, if you're coming. So, it'll be the end of this month. Yeah.
That's exciting news. I enjoy staying close. I think I had mentioned to you.
Ben, if we can move on to the next clip.
Airships that used to visit
Mhm.
here. Goodyear.
All right.
Thank you. This
so we
is
will move on
another
to,
important one.
New business, a request from the Civil Air Patrol for reduction in rent for the use of Building 56.
Right, so I sent you all an email kind of detailing all of this. Just to recap, Civil Air Patrol has a tenant at will agreement, and that's the last 2 pages of your packet. That is dated 25th of February 2014. The agreement is for $200 a month for the use of Building 56, which is the old control tower. In 2016, Civil Air Patrol came before the commission and requested a reduction to $100 a month for a year. The commission approved that, but then after that year happened, the rate never went up to 200 again. It's remained at $100 a month from 2017 until now. When I came on board, I was reviewing all the leases we had on the field. I noticed that discrepancy, and I sent a letter to the commander of the local Civil Air Patrol and notified him of that discrepancy, and said that
Ben, we can stop this
$200
for now.
a month.
That was a expansion of the community relations, and this was Civil Air Patrol has been active at Beverly Airport for many years. And just to summarize, I don't want to take the time to get into the details, but we can show them at some time. But right now, what the Airport Commission, in their wisdom, have basically resigned to the fact that this is a good function of the airport to allow the Civil Air Patrol continue operations at any building that they can put their hands on, because right now they're in the old tower. And what the young pilots of the Civil Air Patrol have presented in this meeting is the fact that they meet once a month. However, they claim to have 24 to 30 cadets that deal with this, and what we can do is help them. And the Airport Commission, in their wisdom, has, at the end of all this discussion, selected to or elected to reduce the rent for the Civil Air Patrol to $1 for the next 12 months, $1 per month. And they are going to be working together to give them better facilities that can be used for multiple purposes. And if the Civil Air Patrol meets on a Wednesday once a month, somebody else can use the same facility for other purposes. But the facilities that they would require is someplace where it's heated, or they can open the doors and get some fresh air, but they need to be close to the tower and to the management office. So congratulations to the airport manager, and congratulations to Bill Kosawan, who ultimately, right in the beginning of the meeting, said, why don't we just reduce this rent from $200 down to $1 a month for the next 12 months and see what facilities we can devote to this wonderful operation that introduces young people and keeps them off the street. So, I appreciate that very much. So, if you can run the last clip, Ben, the last.
Commissioner comments.
Thank you. All right, I've got 2 jobs in this capacity.
Commissioner Koswan will be speaking.
First, I represent my constituents of Danvers, and in that capacity, more in the capacity of communications. Like I said a few minutes ago, I see communications increasing, which I think is vital, absolutely vital. So I'm pleased to see things happening there. I do have a question, maybe a homework assignment for everybody. How many people here are familiar with the Federal Aviation Act of 1958? Nobody? Nobody? I'm the only one? It's codified into Public Law 85-726. It's maybe 15 pages, 10 to 15 minutes of reading. I actually like the preamble better than all the chapter and verse, but it explains everything that we basically support here. So I would just like to get that word out there. That is a question I've put out in the past to this commission when I was on the other side of the table, and people looked at me like I had 2 heads. But it is the core of what we do here. Okay? It defines the airspace and how everything works. It also defines boundaries. Who does what, who can't do what. So
What was the citation?
Federal Aviation Act of 1958. It is also codified into Public Law 85-726, but that's just chapter and verse. I like the preamble to the actual act itself. It's a good read. It explains why everything came about. So I'd like to suggest that.
If you wouldn't mind sending that to us, you have easy access to.
Sure,
That would
that's
be
easy enough.
much
I'll gladly
appreciated.
do that. All right, now to my favorite area, which is aviation safety. And once again, we have another safety seminar coming up. That'll be 2 weeks from tomorrow night here in this room. Okay, this is on air traffic control. The lovely Mary Parsons will be our victim for that night. And it's a good night. It's vital to get people into a room and talking. Okay, again, communications. Don't sit home. Come here, listen. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Well, actually there is. But you know what I mean. It's a good time to get together, get the juices flowing, the gears spinning, and make for a safe flying season. So that's my message for this month, guys. So thanks very much for hearing me.
Well, that was the conclusion of the meeting, wrapped up by Bill Kosawan, who is one of the Danvers representatives on the Airport Commission. He has come up with several new ideas and information that's relevant to how this airport is to be operated and what responsibilities and authorities they have to the airport itself, to the residents themselves that are part of the community of the airport, and then what responsibilities do they have in how this airport is operated. I have said many times that the Airport Commission does not know their authority or their power of what authority they really have. They have been led by the mayor's office and from Beverly, and Danvers has been absent. Now, Wenham totally absent because they have the end of the runway on their land of opportunity over there, and that's where the airport runway will be expanded. So, look out for the next meeting, which is scheduled the second Monday of each month, which I don't have the date for April, but that's coming due. And I would like to hear back from you. What would you like to know what happens at the airport? Because that airport is not going anywhere. And we, the residents of Danvers, Wenham, and Beverly, are not going anywhere. So what we need to do, we need to cooperate with peaceful coexistence between the pilots who think they own the rights to the airport, which by law they probably do because our taxes pay for the development and the expansion of these airports, because it all comes from the federal FAA administration. And who do you think funds the FAA? Now, we are also in receipt of a very important communication from the office of Seth Moulton, and that has been presented to the individuals, but I have a Liam Moorhead, who is the transportation representative for Seth Moulton's office, and he basically responded to a plea from several individuals because Joe Rinaldi and Tony Betancourt, myself, and Sally Kearns, and Joan Lovely have participated in presentations and information gathering meetings with the airport manager. And this was mostly in regards to the environmental impacts that the airport is having. Now, the airport needs to have an environmental impact study done so the residents and abutters are clear on what effects does that airport have on their quality of life. We do need to understand that there's leaded fuel in the fuel supply for the airplanes. There's jet emissions from the fuel supply of the airports. There is noise that's being produced by the recreational aircraft, for one, and now we are getting an impact from jet traffic. And one of the comments that has been made recently is, have we become a jet port for the North Shore? We need to understand that. We need to curtail the development of this airport, and we need to have our commissioners represent the residents. So I want to thank you for listening, and I want you to understand that this is a report on your airport that's ever present in some of our neighborhoods. And one of our neighborhoods is dangerously close, and that is the Danvers High School neighborhood. And those people are being impacted on a daily basis. And so are we in Middleton as well. So let's work together to get this resolved, and I'll continue reporting as you have seen in the last 2 episodes. And I want to do it this way instead of just filming the 3 hours worth of video. So thank you very much for listening, and I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the Beverly Airport Commissioner's time that they devote to the complaints and the resolution of these complaints. Good night, good afternoon, good morning. We love you.